You're already dripping wet. How are you going to last the whole way, Atlas? At least warn me before you go in from behind. Atlas raised his right hand to shield his eyes as the storm winds lashed violently across the open ground around them. They had just left the cover of the forest, stepping into a wide clearing, only to find the winds here made moving forward a brutal challenge. He glanced ahead at the rest of his party. The other three were managing far better than he was. No surprise there. Hell, he was the one with the lowest level among them. Atlas, if you keep dragging your feet, we're leaving you behind, one of them called over his shoulder with a laugh. His role on this expedition was a support, not in the sense of healing or casting barriers. Numbered of 4, like scouting ahead or gathering resources from fallen monsters, and as of late, they'd added looting duty to his tasks too, which was why he now carried a ridiculously heavy pack strapped to his back. It slowed him down, dragging at his every step, while the others, already several paces ahead, seemed completely at ease. The fierce wind only made it worse, pushing against him with every stride. They had just escaped a monster's pursuit back in the forest. What had started as a 6-person hunting expedition was now whittled down to 4, Atlas included. They came to a halt at the edge of a cliff. A wooden bridge stretched before them, linking the two towering cliff sides. It swayed violently in the storm winds that had only grown more vicious. We're almost at the small settlement on the other side, finally said the massive guy with the hammer slung over his back. We could use a break. And, hey, not bad for today's hunt, right? Yeah, though with a storm like this and only the 3 of us left in the party, I don't think we'll be pressing on any further, added another. Only 3. What the hell? Did they forget how to count or something? Damn it. Fuck you all. Then again, it's not like he could complain. Name Atlas. Blackthorn. Level 35. Strength 150, Agility 54, Intelligence 39, Constitution 58, Stamina 65. Class Warrior. Iron will be Tactical Awareness C, Instinctual Command C, Measured Strikes F, Unbreakable Routine S, Reliable Aura Level 35. That's all he was. The rest had already crossed into the 40s, and some well beyond. And even in terms of battle talent, he only had 1 Measured Strikes, and it was rated F. The only thing on that status window that looked even remotely impressive was Reliable Aura smugly. But really that didn't mean anyone actually relied on him. Then there was Unbreakable Routine marked with an S. That one helped a little. It made grinding levels more efficient, thanks to his ridiculous obsession with repetitive tasks most people would find boring. Every time he opened that damn status screen, it only reminded him how far behind he was, and he was so sick of looking at it. A few of the others squinted up at the sky, shielding their eyes before one of them pointed upward. Atlas followed their gaze, and there they were. 2 massive floating islands drifting close together, suspended high above the clouds. Looks like 2 lords are at war. That's probably what stirred up this sudden storm down here. Look at the size of them. If we can still see them clearly from this distance, they've got to be the size of a city. Oh, if only I were a lord, another grumbled. I wouldn't have to be stuck down here wasting my time on these dumb hunting runs. Goddamit. Those floating islands. People say they started appearing 1,000 years ago, and ever since each one seems to choose its own lord, a ruler destined to command from above. It's like they have their own separate worlds up there. They recruit soldiers from below, or who knows where, gather resources and build entire kingdoms atop those airborne lands. They even go to war with one another, sometimes so fiercely that bodies fall from the sky, raining down without warning. But, seriously, those lords were monsters in battle. They grow their islands, raise armies and wage endless war for dominance. Sure, everyone knew life up there was a never-ending battlefield. Yet still, many awakeners from the lower lands, as they called this world, beneath the floating realms chose to devote themselves to those lords. And yeah, under a lord's command, power came easier. Those lords had access to rare resources, even things like experience point orbs that could boost one's level in an instant. Some even promised wealth beyond imagining. But could someone with unfranked talent even dream of being chosen as a lord's subordinate? He was already struggling. At 22, he was still stuck at level 35, and with only 1 combat talent, and a pathetic one at that. Most others his age were already soaring past level 50. Maybe just surviving down here in the lower lands was good enough. Right. Even if that meant clinging to life 1 monster hunt at a time. Let's go, time to move, said one of them, a blonde-haired archer with a cool smile. The man approached Atlas, stepping closer through the wind. Let me carry your load. There's no way you're crossing that bridge with all that weight. You know you're too weak, he said, tugging the massive pack from Atlas's back. He slung it over his own shoulders with practiced ease, then turned and made his way toward the swaying wooden bridge. The others followed right behind him. The storm was vicious now, making the bridge rock violently, as all 3 stepped onto it. Atlas hesitated at the edge of the bridge. Guys, are you sure we should all cross at the same time? They glanced back. You can stay behind if you're scared. No, damn it. But the wooden bridge felt like it could collapse at any second. Still, his teammates were already halfway across, moving steadily. When Atlas clenched his jaw and forced himself to step forward. Each step was a struggle. The storm raged harder now, every gust threatening to hurl him off the swaying planks. Ahead, the others were nearing the far side of the cliff. He quickened his pace, the violent rocking of the bridge, making it feel like it might give way beneath his feet at any moment. Midway across now. Almost there. He ran, pushing himself harder, ignoring the howling wind and the pounding in his chest. The others reached the end. They stepped onto solid ground, and they turned to look back at him. Atlas pushed forward, breath-ragged eyes fixed on them. Then he saw it, a smile. A cold, knowing smile spread across their faces. What? Why were they smiling like that? One of them said, "This loot isn't worth splitting 4 ways." Fuck. No way. Don't you dare. Atlas surged forward, desperate to reach them. But in that instant, the man with the massive hammer stepped forward and swung. Steel bit through rope and wood with brutal ease. The last thing Atlas saw before the planks beneath his feet gave out was that same cold, thin smile on their faces. You bastards, idiots. How dare you betray me? No way he's dying like this. Not now. He didn't claw his way to level 35 with a pathetic battle talent, no less, just to be tossed away like garbage. Atlas screamed in fury as he plummeted, wind roaring past his ears, the ground rushing up to meet him, ready to crush his bones to dust. But then suddenly, a glowing screen blinked into existence before his eyes. You have been chosen as the new lord of the Intergalactic Lord Project. What? Chosen as a new lord? Damn it. Are you fucking kidding me? You have received your own floating land. Build your kingdom, assemble the strongest army, become the most powerful ruler, and prove that you can compete against all the lords, those who rule now, and those yet to rise. Just as his body was about to crash into the ravine floor, everything snapped to black. A sudden force yanked him sideways, hurling him through a vortex of raw energy. The world dissolved into swirling darkness, until a searing light consumed everything. With a jarring impact, he hit solid ground. Hard. But he wasn't dead. Somehow the fall hadn't killed him. Tia. Groaning, Atlas pushed himself up his head, spinning, and lungs burning. He glanced around. Wasteland. Dry, cracked earth, stretched in all directions like a desert frozen in time. He could still see the sky, the clouds drifting above him. He coughed sharply. The air was thin, biting and difficult to breathe, especially after screaming himself hoarse on the way down. He summoned the notification in his mind. The message that had appeared in that strange void. He'd actually been chosen. Chosen as a new lord. And this wasteland, this desolate stretch of land was his floating island. This barren place was his. His fucking island. He got to his feet, scanning the terrain, his boots scattering dust as he paced the cracked ground. It wasn't large. Maybe the size of a football field at best. But still, this was his island. He was a lord now. The safety barrier has been activated. Your island will be safe from attacks for 14 days. Prepare while you still have time. When Atlas's heart thundered. 14 days. 2 weeks to prepare. Then the bloodshed would begin. The Lord's War wasn't a story or some ancient myth. It was brutally real. Every single one of them fought to expand, to dominate, to survive. No laws. No rules. Only power. Lose, and you'd be stripped of everything. Your land, your freedom, your life. The battle had raged for 1,000 years, growing fiercer with every generation. But still, new lords emerged. Some rose to greatness. Others vanished in obscurity. There was always a chance to rise. Atlas stood tall, his black hair whipping in the wind. He stood over the parched earth of his floating island. It was dry, empty, lifeless. What the hell am I supposed to do with an island this dry? But then more notifications flickered to life in front of him. You have obtained 1 innate system, determining the rank. Atlas leaned forward slightly. All right, let's see. What kind of ability are they giving me? The next message hit like a lightning bolt. You have received an SS-Rank System Ultimate Gacha, SSS-Rank Ultimate Gacha. Was everything Atlas had ever heard about the lords, the legends, the awe, the grandeur, nothing but a mirage. A myth wrapped in delusion, because right now his island was nothing more than a goddamn flat slab of land, with a dry, cracked desert stretched across its surface. Atlas scowled and kicked at the brittle sand beneath his boots. It scattered easily in the high-altitude wind. How the hell is he supposed to build a kingdom on this? And an army? With what? Sand and sun. Worse yet, he'd lost all his gear. His trusted spear. He looked down at himself. All he had left was the most basic hunter outfit patched together with a few scraps of armor covering his chest and shoulders. He looked more like cannon fodder than someone destined to be one of the overpowered lords ruling the skies. But then his eyes flicked back to the notification, still glowing in front of him. SSS-Rank Ultimate Gacha System. Gacha? Yeah, he knew what that meant. In the lower lands, especially in some of the more developed continents, tech was still alive. People played games, and gacha systems where you summoned gear characters or anything else from a randomized pool had become wildly popular. But this, gacha, as an innate ability, as a lord system? Now that was something else entirely. Host, I see your brain's finally kicking in. Ready for your system breakdown? Atlas tilted his head, blinking at the new notification. This one felt different, more like something or someone was actually talking to him. You're the system everyone keeps hyping up. Huh, so what should I call you? I'm the ultimate gacha system, the SSS-Rank system that will guide you to becoming the strongest. That's way too long. I'll call you Jackpot. That sound good. Jackpot works too. Brad Jackpot, Atlas said, crossing his arms. Now tell me, what do you really have for me? An SSS-Rank system sounds overpowered as hell, right? You can bet on it. And let's be honest, if you can't get strong with a system this broken, you might as well throw yourself off another cliff. The Atlas scoffed. You've got a sharp tongue for a system. Didn't anyone teach you basic manners? It's not rudeness, just reminding you that greatness is non-negotiable. You should be thanking me. Atlas smirked as he read the message. This foul-mouthed no-filter system might be annoying, but the promise behind it was too tempting to ignore. Call. Den. Let's cut the chatter. What's the first trick you've got for me, Jackpot? Opening gacha screen. A virtual display flickered to life in front of Atlas, revealing 3 separate panels, each glowing with distinct designs and stylized titles. The first banner caught his eye immediately. Exclusive character banner. Rate up character ranks Morgana, Nightshade, Queen of the Eternal Dusk. The banner displayed a stunning woman, clad in a flowing black and red gown, her black hair cascading around a face carved with cold elegance. A vampire. That was the first impression that struck him. So, you're telling me with this gacha system I can actually summon this gorgeous vampire queen as my subordinate? That sounds completely broken. Keep your hopes in check. The summon rate isn't that generous. You might burn through every single chance ticket and still end up with nothing. See? And here I thought you were a broken system. He turned his eyes to the next banner. Exclusive weapon banner. Rate up weapon ranks legendary blood-kissed scythe. The second banner displayed a sleek and deadly-looking scythe, massive, curved and stained with a crimson edge. Its design matched the aura of the vampire queen from the first banner perfectly. There was no mistaking it. This weapon was made for her. So this banner lets you summon weapons, and this featured scythe is basically the one meant for that vampire queen, right? Exactly. Just like the gacha games on the surface. The system adjusts itself to fit the general knowledge of this world's inhabitants. Cool system and all, but maybe you should have done better research. One tay. Atlas rolled his eyes. He'd never played a gacha game back in the lower lands. Standard banner. The third panel displayed a lineup of 5 unique characters, each frozen mid-action weapons drawn and ready. From their distinct armor and fighting stances, it was clear they each served different roles: tank support, assassin, mage, and warrior. Interesting. Oh, so you're saying I can summon both characters and weapons from these banners, just by rolling the gacha? Yes, host. Exclusive character banner and exclusive weapon banner will be updated periodically, offering rate-ups on select characters and weapons. You can use gacha tickets to pull from these banners with increased odds of obtaining the featured units during their limited period. The standard banner is always available. It lets you summon anytime, though it only offers standard tier characters and weapons. Okay, so basically, you're giving me some kind of token I can use to make pulls from any of these banners. Correct. And as their names suggest, characters and weapons from the exclusive banners are significantly more powerful than anything found in the standard banner. So, there are 2 types of gacha tokens then? Yes. Exclusive tickets and standard tickets. Got it. Now, let's move on. Now, host, most of your pulls will land at ranker, but there's a guaranteed ranker pull every 10 summons. All right, so ranker means better items, yeah, correct. And if exclusive items are ranks, is there a guaranteed pull for that too? Yes. No. Every time you get a ranker or ranks, the counter resets. Okay, so if I get super lucky, I could land both a ranker and a ranks in a single 10 pull batch. Keep your expectations in check. Okay. This really is just like the gacha systems people always talk about in those games. You have earned additional rewards. You have received 100 exclusive tickets. You have received 200 standard tickets. You have unlocked inventory storage with a capacity of 10 cubic meters. Another notification blinked into view in front of Atlas. Well, this just keeps getting better. A soft shimmer of light formed in the air, and then the tickets began to materialize, gold and silver cards hovering weightlessly in front of him. Atlas reached out and took them in hand, but quickly frowned. He counted them carefully. Only 50 gold cards and 100 silver ones. That's only half. This doesn't look like 100 exclusive tickets and 200 standard tickets. Don't worry, the tickets will be delivered periodically. Once you reach certain milestones in your Lord journey, more will become available. For now, set them aside and focus on what you already have. Atlas narrowed his eyes. All right, so how do I actually use the gacha? You can use a maximum of 10 tickets per draw. How do I trigger it? Just throw the ticket. It activates automatically. Atlas stashed the remaining tickets into his newly unlocked inventory, then drew 10 of the gold-colored ones back out. Call. Den. No point in waiting around. Let's do this. Activate the exclusive tickets on the exclusive character banner. He tossed the golden cards into the air. The 10 tickets began to spin mid-air, forming a circle. Each one lit up their backs, glowing in different colors. Some a dull brown, a few shimmering purple, and one burning with a brilliant blinding red. Wait, no way. You have obtained 7 rank item, 2 ranker items, and 1 ranks item. I actually pulled a ranks on my first try. Drop pop. Let's see what's behind these tickets. You have obtained 7 rank P items, 2 ranker items, and 1 ranks item. Atlas blinked at the message, then broke into a stunned grin. Damn. Seriously, 2 ranker items, and a ranks item in one pull. He chuckled under his breath. Is it really this easy to use the gacha system? Okay, host, there's one more rule you need to know. What now? TC, here is a 50% chance that a ranks pull will give you the rate-up character from the exclusive banner, and a 50% chance it'll be a standard ranks character. Wait, isn't this an exclusive banner? Shouldn't Morgana the Vampire Queen automatically be the one I get? 50%, but if you lose the first 5,050, your next ranks pull from the banner is guaranteed to be the featured character. Atlas narrowed his eyes. You better not be trying to rig my luck. The system has no control over the outcome. The standard ranks characters are those 5 listed in the standard banner. Alright, so it's not guaranteed to be her. Let's see just how lucky I really am with this gacha thing. Atlas decided to start with the brown-backed tickets, the ones containing common items. As he activated them, 5 glowing purple orbs emerged, hovering gently in the air in front of him. You have received 5 rare XP orbs. Well, not a bad start, he muttered. He reached out and collected the orbs, storing them neatly in his inventory. These XP orbs were valuable, used to level up units under a lord's command. And yes, he could use them on himself as well. That meant he could finally boost his own level without having to grind for every single point. This was one of the reasons lords were feared, respected, and seen as near unstoppable. They had access to items and tools. Others could only dream of resources that bent the rules of growth and power. In the lower lands, countless awakeners willingly pledged themselves to lords in return. The lords offered them strength and often wealth. With XP orbs like these, a lord could rapidly level up their followers far faster than grinding through monster battles ever could. Alright, next ticket. Atlas opened another brown-backed one. You have received 1 rare fireball skill scroll. A scroll materialized in front of him, hovering for a brief moment, before he reached out and stored it into his inventory. It was a skill scroll usable by anyone to instantly unlock a new skill. Looks like all the standard items I'm pulling are rare grade. I wonder if there's anything better in these. 10 This world, item grades followed a known hierarchy: common, rare elite, epic unique, legendary and mythic for most people. In the lower lands, especially average awakeners with limited talents, even a rare grade item was seen as a stroke of fortune. Well, this scroll might come in handy when I've got subordinates to equip it. He could use it himself, sure, but the fireball skill didn't exactly mesh with his class as a warrior. His mana pool was too limited, and elemental casting wasn't his strength. It would be far more efficient to save the scroll for someone whose class could make the most of it. Eager to see what else he could pull, Atlas continued opening tickets, one after another. You have received 100 units of wood. You have received 100 units of wood. You have received 100 units of stone. You have received 50 units of iron. You have received 20 units of mana crystals. 5 items appeared in sequence stacks of materials, glowing faintly before being automatically stored: wood, stone, iron, and mana crystals. Done in the early stages of being a lord, gathering these materials was crucial. With only a 14-day safety period, every new lord had to act fast, hunting monsters, recruiting subordinates, establishing their first fortress, and putting up defenses. Jackpot, give me a list of the structures I need to build during the early phase. First. Host, you must construct Fortress Stage 1. Outpost, Fortress. The fortress acts as the core of your floating island. The center of command, it manages resources, coordinates, security, and unlocks vital features for expansion. Stage 1 Outpost Fortress, a simple structure with minimal defenses and a small command chamber. It grants you access to basic system management, resource tracking, and rudimentary defense protocols. System significance unlocks island management, features building options, early storage capacity, and basic resource processing. Okay, I get it now. The fortress is basically the main hub. Every lord needs to build one to unlock more control over their island, right? Correct, host. And unlike traditional construction methods used in the lower lands, this process is far faster. As long as you have the materials, the system will handle the rest instantly. All right, then tell me what I need to build Fortress Stage 1. Wood 300 units. Stone 250 units. Iron 150 units. Mana, crystals 20 units optional for minor magical defense boost. Well, I've already got the mana crystals, just a bit more wood, stone, and iron, and I'll be able to build my first fortress. Atlas continued eyeing the remaining tickets, 2 ranker and 1 ranks. Without wasting time, he selected one of the ranker tickets and activated it. You have received a ranker character, Edric Thornwall, the Golden Steward. His eyes widened. This would be the first time he'd witness a live summon from the gacha system. His heart raced. Wait, is someone actually going to appear in front of me right now? Just how insane is this system? The ticket fluttered to the ground, glowing as it made contact. A shimmering magic circle bloomed beneath it. Energy swirled from within, light coiling and twisting. The glow faded slowly, revealing a sharply dressed man with slick Recum black hair and a well-groomed mustache. He wore a tailored black suit that looked so pristine it was almost out of place on the barren island. The man glanced down, examining his hands, flexing his fingers, then checked his boots. He adjusted his jacket, cleared his throat, and looked up at Atlas. My lord, thank you for summoning me. I am Edric. His eyes scanned the surrounding landscape. So a newly awakened lord, is it fascinating? I must say, summoning me is likely the best stroke of fortune you've had so far. I am an efficient tactician, skilled in resource allocation, logistic mastery, merchant strategy. He gave a slight elegant bow. Edric Thornwall, at your service, my lord. Atlas stepped closer, eyeing Edric with suspicion. He reached out and poked the man's arm. Are you real? Yes, my lord. Edric blinked, confused. So you're actually alive. Where did you come from exactly? Edric straightened his jacket again, then cleared his throat. My lord, before I answer, may I ask something first? All right, what is it? What do the people of this world call it? Atlas frowned. New Earth. Edric nodded thoughtfully. Yes, that one. Then it's as I suspected. I come from another world, also one ruled by floating islands and lords. My own island was destroyed in battle, and I barely survived, just when I thought it was over. Wait, are you saying there are other worlds out there, with lords and battles and floating islands just like this one? Edric gave a calm nod. I'm surprised that's news to you, to be honest. How long have lords existed in your world? Atlas shook his head slowly. We know other worlds exist. That's not the surprise. Different races have shown up here. For centuries, elves, demons, others. So yeah, people assumed they came from somewhere else, but I've never heard the details. Never knew they had lords too. Please, my lord, Edric said with a respectful bow. I'm at your disposal. Ask me anything that stirs your curiosity. As for how long? Atlas cut in. The floating islands have been around for what, maybe 1,000 years now. Are still quite young, Edric replied thoughtfully. You see, once lords grow powerful enough and reach certain thresholds, their world becomes connected to others. From that point on, the battles escalate, far beyond anything you've seen so far. How long does that usually take? It varies, my lord. 2,000, 3,000, even 5,000 years. It all depends on how rapidly the lords of that world advance. All right, thanks for the explanation, and welcome to my island. Gladly, my lord, I am ready to serve with every ounce of experience I have, Edric said, offering another graceful bow. Atlas exhaled slowly. There was still so much he didn't know, so much he needed to learn, but now he had someone capable at his side, someone he could talk to, someone who understood what this role truly meant. Other worlds. Could that be why this whole Lords thing is called the Intergalactic Lord Project? The thought buzzed in the back of his mind, but he set it aside. For now, there would be time to explore that mystery later. All right, let's finish the summoning, he said. Time for the next ranker ticket. You have received a ranker character. Carrion Thorn, the Crimson Slayer. Another notification appeared in front of Atlas. And this one too was a character summon. A magic circle flared to life on the ground. Moments later, a surge of crimson energy burst outward, followed by a deep guttural roar. It sounded almost like a dragon's cry, echoing through the sky. Then a figure began to emerge slowly, until he stood fully formed before Atlas. This one was different. Taller than Atlas by a head at least. His red hair was tied back in a loose battle-worn knot, and he wore plate armor with a faint reddish hue. Carrion remained silent, at first surveying his new surroundings. Then his eyes found Atlas, and something changed. A moment later, the towering warrior sank to one knee, bowing his head with quiet resolve. This warrior has stained his name with a crushing defeat in his homeland, Carrion said. But now I've been spared, saved by a noble lord, just as death was about to claim me. Please accept my loyalty, my lord. Atlas nodded, stepping forward. Stand, Carrion. Without hesitation, Carrion rose to his full height once more. This one definitely looked like a fighter, from his imposing build to the battle-worn armor. And Atlas couldn't help but feel satisfied. A warrior like this, especially one seasoned by real warfare, was more than he ever expected to gain at this early stage. It seems we've already gathered some of the best possible personnel for the initial phase, Atlas said, glancing between Edric and Carrion. And with the number of summons I still have left, I can build out a real force. But before we move forward, I need to sort a few things. My lord, if I may, Edric interjected suddenly. Yes, Edric. Atlas turned to him. My lord, you likely have limited time to prepare before your first battle begins, Edric said, scanning their barren surroundings. And I believe we're in desperate need of materials to begin construction. Forgive my boldness, but I'd be honored to offer suggestions if you'd allow it. Atlas nodded unfazed. No need to worry, Edric. I've already got a way to gather materials. Without another word, he summoned the resources pulled from the gacha. Piles of wood, stone, iron, and mana crystals materializing instantly around them. I've got these for now, though it's not quite enough to build the fortress yet. No big deal. My system can get me more any time. Edric's eyes widened in admiration. That's remarkable, my lord. It seems you truly possess an extraordinary system. Beside him, Karian let out a soft whistle and gave a slow clap of approval. Edric stepped forward again. I must say, I'm fortunate to have been summoned under your command. For someone new to all of this, you've handled every moment with clarity and calm. Honestly, my lord, you seem more mature than most seasoned rulers I've met. It's an honor to serve you. Atlas laughed, shaking his head. Oh, that's your assessment. He grinned. Well, that's good to hear. There was still a lot to do in these early stages, but Atlas wasn't about to rush blindly into anything. Caution had kept him alive before, and he wasn't the reckless type, especially now. He might have started as a low-talent awakener, but that didn't mean he was going to run this place like an amateur. Before opening the ranks ticket, he decided to check the status of the 2 characters he had already summoned. First up, Edric. Name Edric Thornwall. Level 49. Strength 89. Agility 220. Intelligence 54. Constitution 67. Stamina 89. Job Resource Manager. Master of Logistics. A Crisis Manager. A Merchant's Fortune. A Swift Dagger. B. Silver Tongue. A Perfect Hair. Level 49. Atlas frowned. That's kind of low for someone like you. Just like a crab, and ate all the parts with the shell as well. Just shy. My lord, Edric replied with a respectful nod. My level and a few of my talents were reduced during the summoning. But rest assured, my capabilities remain valuable. What I've lost in numbers I still carry in skill. Atlas nodded. Levels can be regained. What matters is whether the talent stays useful, and yours clearly is. You have my gratitude, my lord. Atlas read through Edric's talents. He couldn't help but be impressed by how well they aligned with his role. Master of Logistics, perfect for managing resources and infrastructure. Crisis Manager handles pressure without falling apart. Edric gave a small, confident smile. That's my specialty, my lord. And Merchant's Fortune. You've got a nose for trade deals and squeezing out profit. That's ideal for a tactician. You can rely on me fully in that area, my lord. Then we've got Swift Dagger, close combat with light weapons and tactical retreat, which lets you pull out of danger. Sounds like you're not meant for the front lines, but you won't be helpless either. Edric offered a quick bow, then drew a gleaming dagger from beneath his coat. In a blink he vanished, reappearing several feet away with barely a sound. Not bad at all. Then Atlas noticed the next talent and squinted. Perfect hair. It was exactly what it sounded like. Tele. Edric's hair would always look flawless, no matter the situation. It had no real combat function. Edric lifted his chin with dignified flair, brushing a hand through his groomed hair. Even warriors should look their best under pressure, my lord. Atlas chuckled. Well, I guess it has its own kind of value. Day. Tenty. Lastly, there was Silver Tongue, a persuasive ability that enhanced charm and influence. Yeah, he's got every social and support skill I could ask for. A perfect fit for his role. Name Karian Thorn. Level 55. Strength 289. Agility 76. Intelligence 57. Constitution 145. Stamina 98. Job, Frontline Fighter. Brute Force, A Dragon's Will. SS Crimson Rage. B. Savage, Cleaver Hesamidic Presence. B. Impressive Snoring, A Death's Resilience. Well, your level's higher, 55. My lord, Karian said, I will work tirelessly to regain my former level and improve every one of my talents. Tude, we'll push hard once things are in place. Atlas reviewed the list of abilities. One thing became clear. Karian was built for destruction. Brute Force, Raw Power Enhancement. It lets you break through armor and shields like paper. Karian flexed both arms with exaggerated seriousness, his expression flat, as if pretending not to notice that his lord was assessing him. Then there's Dragon's Will, Atlas continued. Shrated. That's huge. Drastically reduces the effect of crowd control, stuns, binds, restraining magic. You're practically unmovable on the field. That's still far from my peak, my lord, Karian replied humbly. Crimson Rage. Now this is dangerous. Boosts your speed, damage, and ferocity when your health is low, but drops your defense. A proper berserker trigger. Just those 3 skills made Karian a walking catastrophe in battle. Dragon's Will and Crimson Rage alone would make him a nightmare to stop once wounded. Savage Cleave. Wide-range strikes able to cut through multiple enemies or objects in a single blow. Genetic presence. To naturally command attention and loyalty. Makes it easier to lead others. I noticed at the moment you arrived. But then Atlas paused, brow furrowing as he read the next talent. Tumpressive snoring. Apparently Carrion's snore could rattle a room and wake an entire squad. You might cause a little chaos at night. Carrion gave a sheepish grin. It's not that bad, my lord. I swear. Atlas chuckled. We'll see. And finally, Death's Resilience. Atlas read aloud. Grants resistance to fatal blows. You can keep fighting for a short while, even after taking life-ending damage. This one synced perfectly with Crimson Rage. Even in the face of death, Carrion would remain standing and break enemies until the last second. Everything's perfect, Atlas said, nodding to himself. Now, with a berserker warrior and a skilled resource manager at his side, it was time. He was ready to open the ranks ticket. Will I be lucky enough to pull the exclusive rate-up character right from the start? Atlas touched the final ticket, gently, anticipation rising in his chest. As the ticket dropped to the ground, a magic circle burst to life beneath it, dark, intricate runes glowing red and black. From the center, shadowy energy surged outward in chaotic swirls, the wind kicking up so fiercely that Atlas shielded his eyes. The dark mist began to twist and scatter, transforming into dozens of small black bats. They fluttered through the air in a wide arc, before spiraling toward the center, merging to form the silhouette of a woman. The energy faded. There she stood, clad in a flowing black and crimson dress, with long black hair cascading down her back. No way. You have received a ranks character, Morgana Nightshade, Queen of the Eternal Dusk. Tay, Atlas grinned, breath catching in his chest. Well, looks like my luck really paid off. The woman Morgana turned her gaze to Edric and Carrion, her crimson eyes flicking over them with cold disinterest. My lord. Carrion suddenly shouted, reaching out toward Atlas. What the... Before anyone could move, the vampire queen blurred forward. In a heartbeat she was right in front of Atlas. Her hand twisted and morphed into a set of glistening claws. You think you can make me your slave? You die now, she hissed. Her claws slashed through the air just inches away from Atlas's throat. Atlas stood frozen as Morgana lunged at him with blinding speed. It all happened so fast, his brain barely had time to catch up. But then, suddenly, system detects a threat against the Lord by their subordinate. High-level threat. Containment has been activated, rendering the individual immobile until the harmful intent subsides. Containment will be lifted once the target relinquishes their killing intent. Morgana halted mid-motion. Her claws hovered mere millimeters from Atlas's skin. Atlas didn't even blink. He was still locked in place. The system just saved me. This is the power of being a lord. This wasn't just summoning allies. It was complete dominance control. Subordinates summoned through the system couldn't harm their lord even if they wanted to. It was terrifying and incredible. Before him, the vampire queen's face contorted with rage. Her crimson eyes blazed, fangs bared, breath ragged with fury. I'll kill you, but she couldn't move. The system had frozen her in place. How dare you summon me to this barren wasteland? I'll kill you, you arrogant fool. Morgana screamed, her voice laced with fury, as she strained against the invisible force locking her body in place. Endric let out a quiet sigh and shook his head. He patted Carrion on the shoulder. The warrior straightened, returning to his usual stoic posture with a slow exhale. What's wrong with you, Atlas? Asked casually, looking down at the furious woman. Despite the deadly aura radiating off her, she still looked like someone in her early 20s. But then again, her title, Queen of the Eternal Dusk, sounded more than a little intimidating. There was no mistaking it. She was a vampire. And not just any vampire, a queen. How dare you summon me? She snarled. You're nothing but a lowly creature unworthy of even looking at me, let alone commanding me. Atlas raised a hand and calmly shushed her. SSH. Her mouth snapped shut instantly. Now can you calm down a bit? Maybe stand up properly. In response, her posture shifted. Her back straightened, arms fell to her sides. Hemo, she muttered in a low, frustrated tone. What? Atlas leaned in. What did you just say? Her mouth flew open again. Don't come any closer. I refuse to let you near me. Oh, you mean something like this, Atlas replied, and without hesitation, he reached out and gently took hold of Morgana's chin. She jerked in surprise, but her body remained locked in place by the system's restraints. See, I can go this far, Atlas said, but I'll respect you. He let go, meeting her furious gaze. I'll give you a chance to accept your situation. We'll talk properly when you're ready. Deal? Morgana's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Then you stand here for now, Atlas continued. When you're ready to speak to me like a reasonable person, the system will let you move again. He sighed and turned away. This wasn't how he'd expected things to go. Not even close. She was clearly a ruler in her own right, just like Edric, just like Carrion. Maybe even more so, judging by her presence, her fury, her title. She must have suffered a devastating loss to end up like this. Her pride shattered, her authority stripped, and now summoned into service under another lord, a human no less. Who knew how many forces she once commanded, how high her level had reached, and what had become of everything she once ruled? He couldn't say, but one thing was obvious: his first rank summon came with complications. Still, he wasn't too concerned. These things took time. And at the end of the day, they all had one goal. Now, survival. Atlas had no intention of treating them like slaves. That wasn't his style. His goal was to build a real team, strong, loyal, and bound by mutual respect. Even if the system guaranteed that none of them could ever harm him, he still wanted something more than control. He wanted companions, allies, people who chose to stand with him, not just those who were forced to. He turned back toward Morgana, still frozen in place, her expression seething, but silent. Let's see how powerful you really are. Name Morgana Nightshade. Level 69. Strength 212, Agility 324, Intelligence 122, Constitution 119, Stamina, Job Specialized Fighter, Eternal Dusk Masteries, Blood Sovereignty, A Frenzied Reflexes, SS, Reaper's Precision, A Fearless Confrontation, A Emotional Outburst, A Emotional Surge. Level 69. She was already stronger than Carrion and far beyond what anyone should have at this early stage. And that wasn't even the most shocking part. Most Awakened gained around 10 stat points per level, but Morgana's stats. Atlas did a double take. Quick math confirmed it. Over 900 stat points. Damn. At her level, she was comparable to someone pushing into the 80s. Maybe even higher, depending on her class advantages. Extraordinary didn't begin to cover it. She was an absolute monster in combat. Now Atlas turned his attention to Morgana's talents. Even a brief glance made his eyes narrow. Every single one of them was ranked A or higher. Ridiculous. Eternal Dusk Mastery greatly increases strength, speed, and magic effectiveness when fighting under moonlight or in dark environments. Grants near unmatched performance during nighttime. Blood Sovereignty. Each successful attack absorbs a portion of the target's life force, restoring health. Enhances survivability in prolonged combat. Frenzied Reflexes activates during moments of emotional intensity. Significantly boosts reaction speed, allowing for rapid dodging and counterattacks. Reflex Control decreases as emotional volatility increases. Reaper's Precision enhances weapon strikes to automatically target weak points, maximizing critical hit damage. Increases effectiveness against armored opponents. Atlas's eyes locked on the first four. Eternal Dusk Mastery rated S. Frenzied Reflexes SS. She was a pure killing machine. In darkness or under the moon, she became nearly unstoppable. Combine that with her ability to drain life force from enemies to sustain herself. She could stay in the fight far longer than most. And if her emotions spiraled, her speed increased. No wonder she exploded the moment she was summoned. Her rage literally fueled her reflexes. And then Reaper's Precision, a clear signal. She was a closer-range fighter designed to deal fatal blows with that scythe of hers. Fearless Confrontation automatically triggers aggressive responses to direct threats. Boosts intimidation and presence in combat scenarios. Emotional Outburst High. Emotional states result in spontaneous disruptive behavior. Fearless Confrontation. That one could be a problem. It meant she'd never back down, even when she should. That kind of reckless aggression might put her at odds with the rest of the team. And Emotional Outburst. It explained her over-the-top reaction the moment she arrived. And finally, an Emotional Surge. Emotions directly amplify magic output. Spells become more powerful when emotional intensity rises. High risk of losing control, leading to widespread collateral damage. Atlas took a deep breath. She didn't just get stronger when angry, her magic went stronger. She became harder to manage, harder to control, but also exponentially more powerful. Stronger, faster, harder to kill, and more destructive the angrier she gets. He let out a slow, thoughtful breath. Well, I guess I really did pull a monster. A faint smile tugging at his lips. She truly lived up to the title of an exclusive ranks character. And now the temptation to keep going was impossible to resist. He still had plenty of tickets, and he was more than ready to burn through every last one if it meant expanding his team further. Let's continue the gacha. For his first 10 pulls, Atlas had been incredibly lucky. 2 ranker summons and 1 ranks, though the last one came with complications. Now that Morgana was officially part of his team, his attention shifted to the second exclusive banner, the one featuring the blood-kissed scythe, a weapon clearly crafted for her. If he could get his hands on it, it would complete her build perfectly. And even if the scythe didn't drop, any ranker pulls could still provide useful weapons. Maybe even something suited for Carrion, who was still fighting barehanded. That moment, both Edric and Carrion had rejoined him standing nearby, once more, as he prepared for the next draw. Without wasting another second, Atlas grabbed 10 more exclusive tickets. With a confident grin, he tossed them into the air. Let's see if my luck really is the real deal. Keep your expectations low, host. The tickets shot upward, spinning rapidly like a roulette wheel, then slowly began to settle. First card brown, second brown, another brown, brown. Well as expected, then purple. Finally, a hit, brown, brown, brown. Purple, brown, nice. You have obtained 8 rank-up items and 2 ranker items. That should be better than a standard result, right, my lord? Edric asked. Yes, Atlas replied with a grin. He wasted no time and quickly opened the first standard pull. When the item materialized, his expression shifted slightly. Simple bag. You have received 1 evergreen soil bag. Soil bag, he muttered. Evergreen soil bag, a sack of rich enchanted soil that when spread across barren land revitalizes it and promotes rapid plant growth. Atlas blinked once, then smiled. This is exactly what we needed right now. He took the bag in hand and turned to Edric, who immediately stepped forward with a bow, clearly catching on. My lord, please allow me to handle this task. Atlas smirked. Had a way with words. He always seemed to say just what someone wanted to hear. Pick the best spot to use it. Maybe the center of the island or wherever you think it'll do the most good. We need to start improving this place. Understood, my lord, Edric said smoothly, taking the bag and heading off without another word. You have received 100 units of wood. You have received 100 units of stone. You have received 100 units of stone. You have received 50 units of iron. You have received 50 units of iron. The next 5 items were perfect, exactly what he needed. Atlas quickly opened his inventory and checked the totals. A wide grin spread across his face. He finally had enough. Jackpot, so I can build the fortress now, right? Yes, host. You just need to select the location. Construction will begin immediately. Cool, he whispered to himself. His eyes drifted toward Morgana, who was still rooted in place, her body stiff with tension. She hadn't moved an inch. Controlling rage. Not as easy as it sounds. Atlas made his way toward the center of the island, with Carrion silently trailing behind. Edric, who had been working nearby, noticed their approach and straightened up at once. My lord, I've chosen this location, he said, gesturing to the open area. It's at the island's center, perfect for establishing our first structure. This will give us prime land to prioritize for future expansion. Good work, Edric. Atlas replied with a nod. Just then a question formed in his mind, and as if on cue, the system responded. A 3D holographic interface shimmered into view before him, displaying a full model of his floating island. Ah, so this is how it works, he murmured. He navigated the interface, selecting the fortress blueprint from the list of available structures. Dragging it across the virtual map, he carefully positioned it at the exact center of the island. Once satisfied, he tapped the confirm button. You have spent 300 units of wood, 250 units of stone, 150 units of iron, and 20 units of mana crystals to build Fortress Stage 1 Outpost Fortress. The building process will take 12 hours. The moment the notification appeared, the magic began. Materials gathered from every direction, rising from both the terrain and Atlas's inventory. Wood, stone, iron, and shimmering mana crystals swirled through the air, drawn by an unseen force. They floated together, dancing in an organized spiral toward the construction site. Then, as though guided by invisible hands, the materials began to fall into place. It was like watching the world build itself. Each piece found its place without resistance, locking into position with perfect alignment. The mana crystals embedded themselves near the base. Atlas stood there captivated. This is honestly mesmerizing, he whispered. We have enough time to prepare other things while the construction is underway, my lord, Edric said, offering a short bow. Yes, that's fine. Let's make use of it. We still have quite a few tickets left to open today, Atlas replied with a smile. He returned to where the remaining floating cards hovered in the air. 4 left still untouched. Without wasting a second, he reached for the next one. You have received 20 units of mana crystals. You have received 1 evergreen soil bag. Ah, good, he muttered. Another soil bag. System, actually giving me exactly what I need. He handed the bag to Edric, who accepted it with a silent bow before returning to his task without delay. That left only 2 ranker tickets. 7 time, Atlas reached for the next, and as the light faded, the notification appeared. You have received a ranker item, Aqua Crystal. Aqua Crystal, what's this? Aqua Crystal releases water when planted in the ground. Seriously, Atlas said aloud, this is exactly what we need. The gem pulsed with a soft blue glow, and it looked so inviting he almost wanted to swallow it. His throat was dry, painfully dry, and only now did he realize just how thirsty and hungry he'd become. What if I end up starving to death before anyone even attacks me? Atlas walked over to Edric and Carrion, handing the aqua crystal to the warrior, who accepted it with a respectful bow. "That's some serious luck, my lord," Edric commented. "We needed water, and your system delivered." "Yeah," Atlas nodded, rubbing his stomach. "Now, I wonder if the system plans on giving us food next." "I'm actually getting pretty hungry. No need to worry, my lord," Edric said smoothly. "If it comes to it, we can always ask Carrion to lend us a limb for dinner." The moment he finished, all heads turned toward him. Atlas, Carrion, and even Morgana. Atlas stared at Edric for a moment, his brow raised. "You're not serious, are you?" "Sive, no, my lord. Just a joke." Carrion exhaled heavily, clearly relieved by the clarification. And yet, Atlas wasn't entirely convinced. "Wait, did you actually do that in your previous world?" "Yes," Edric replied. "No," Carrion said. The two answered at almost exactly the same time. Atlas narrowed his eyes and gave an awkward smile, swallowing hard. Survival must have been pretty brutal, huh? His throat burned with dryness, and the thirst was starting to get the better of him. Without wasting another moment, he made his way over to Carrion, hoping the aqua crystal had already begun working its magic beneath the soil. He was really thirsty. Edric joined Atlas kneeling beside the newly damp soil. Curious Atlas reached down and touched it. Yes, it was wet, just as he'd hoped the aqua crystal had done its job. A water source was forming beneath their feet. Then after a few more moments, he spotted it. A small trickle of water, pushing up from the dirt, bubbling to the surface like a newborn spring. Excitement surged through him. He dug into the softening earth with both hands, clearing it away. Water began to gush forth. "This yakste. This should be drinkable already." His face lit up with joy. Laughing softly, he leaned down and drank straight from the stream, cupping his hands at first, then bringing his mouth close to the flow. The moment the cool water hit his throat, it was like heaven. Refreshing, sweet, and unbelievably crisp. It revived him instantly, the sensation rushing through his body, like a jolt of life. "What kind of water is this?" he muttered, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. "It's so good. I feel like I could live here and do nothing but drink it all day." Unable to resist, he splashed the water on his face, then soaked his hair, drenching himself from head to toe. Laughter burst out of him, as he stood up dripping and beaming like a child, discovering a secret stream. He turned to Edric and Carrion, his grin wide. "Come on, don't hesitate. Drink as much as you want." Edric offered a respectful bow. "Thank you, my lord. I'll let Carrion go first." Carrion gave a small nod and knelt beside the spring, drinking deeply. Then Edric followed each of them, taking their turn. Atlas stood over the spring. For such a short time, his floating island had already begun to change. What was once barren and dusty was now moist and alive. The fortress was well on its way, just hours from completion. But his excitement hadn't cooled yet. With a grin, he strode back to where the last ranker ticket hovered in mid-air, his final pull from the second round. He plucked it from the air, and a notification blinked into view. "You have received a ranker weapon, epic grade, Dragonfang, Cleaver." A greatsword. He leaned closer to examine it. The blade was massive, a broad menacing slab of crimson metal that seemed to thirst for blood. This looks serious. Dragonfang Cleaver, grade epic. Strength, quote, 200, health 4000, clotel, defense 200. Rending/active, delivers a crushing slash that pierces armor, dealing 550 physical damage. Crimson Wrath, conditional passive: for every 10 of health loss, damage increases by 5, up to a 30 maximum. When the wielder's health drops below 30, the blade glows with red energy and boosts attack speed by 25. This wasn't the first weapon Atlas had held, but the moment he gripped the Dragonfang Cleaver, he knew it was something entirely different. It was by far the most extraordinary weapon he had ever laid hands on. He admired its blood-red edge as Edric and Carrion approached, their eyes magnetically drawn to the blade's powerful aura. "That's yours, right?" Atlas asked, turning to Carrion. "My lord, that is exactly the same greatsword. I wielded in battle before I was summoned," Carrion confirmed. Atlas nodded, satisfied. The weapon's heavy boosts in strength, health, and defense fit Carrion like a glove, perfect for a frontline powerhouse who relied on raw power and resilience. "This weapon, it's truly exceptional." "Thank you, my lord." Atlas gave the greatsword a try, hefting it in his hands. And yes, it was undeniably heavy. His current stats weren't high enough to wield it properly. Not that it mattered too much, he wasn't exactly a greatsword type. Spears were his weapon of choice, better suited to his agile, precise fighting style. Still, this greatsword wasn't just any weapon. It was an epic grade, the highest tier item he'd ever touched. His old spear, that had only been common grade, scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of quality. Rarer grade weapons were still somewhat within reach for low-talent awakeners like him, but anything higher, elite grade and above was considered extravagant. Most people would even dream of getting their hands on such gear until they were past level 100, and epic grade, that was in a different league altogether. These weapons were usually reserved for those from powerful bloodlines or elite members of top-tier guilds. Owning one this early was a tremendous advantage. If he wanted to, Atlas could sell the greatsword for a small fortune, enough to retire comfortably in a quiet village, never lifting a weapon again. But that wasn't the plan. Not with his cheat system in play. He had an edge, and he was going to use it. He had one goal: climb fast, reach the peak. 4. That he needed the right weapons, especially a spear he could actually wield. "Hope I pull a spear soon," he murmured. Turning, Atlas handed the greatsword to Carian. "Take it. Use it for me." "Thank you, my lord," Carian said with a respectful bow. Then another floating message appeared before him. "Host, you can pull a copy of the greatsword from the gacha and use the duplicate to upgrade the current one." I can pull a copy of the same weapon, but why upgrade the old one? Wouldn't it be better to have two, so both can be used by different people?" "The weapon can be upgraded up to 5 times. Each upgrade will either enhance the existing skills or unlock a new one, but the choice is yours. If you believe someone among your subordinates can make good use of it, you don't have to upgrade the current one." Atlas nodded slowly. So if he got another of the same weapon from the gacha, he had options: either upgrade the one he had or hand the new one to someone else. Not a bad system. If his squad lacked weapons and someone else could benefit from it, then giving it away might be smarter. But in this case, the Dragon Fang Cleaver was unmistakably designed for a greatsword wielder, specifically a berserker, and so far only Carian fits that profile. Wasting no time, Atlas tossed another 10 exclusive tickets into the air, setting off another pull from the exclusive weapon banner. The tickets spun above him, their colors revealing one by one: brown, then purple. Atlas smirked. A ranker was guaranteed every 10 pulls, so this came as no surprise. But then, something changed. Another purple flashed, followed by brown, and brown again. Oh, another 2 ranker pulls. Then one ticket lingered. Its glow pulsed and deepened, its color shifting, until it turned red. A broad grin spread across Atlas's face. Another ranks item, and so early in his gacha streak. "You have received 1 basic survival kit. You have received 100 units of stone. You have received 50 units of iron. You have received 100 units of wood. You have received 50 units of iron. You have received 50 units of iron. You have received 100 units of stone." Atlas flipped through the 7 brown tickets, and once again, the gacha delivered a generous stash of materials. He knew they'd come in handy soon, especially for constructing new facilities once the fortress was finished. But amid the familiar pull, one unfamiliar item stood out. He reached for it and read the description. Basic survival kit includes essential tools like a knife, a small flint for starting fires, a tent, and basic rations for surviving in the wilderness. This is going to be useful. Sitting down, Atlas opened the kit. Inside was a compact, sleek knife with a modern design, alongside a neatly packed tent. The fortress wouldn't be ready until tomorrow morning, so while they had shelter coming, for now, the tent could make a real difference. He hesitated for a moment, debating whether to use it now or hold on to it for a harsher situation. As he weighed his options, Edric and Carian approached. "My lord, shall we set up the tent for you?" "Allow me. You'll rest more easily while we await the fortress's completion," Edric offered. "Yes, that's a good idea," Atlas replied, handing over the bag. Edric gave a small respectful bow and turned to Carian. Carian gave a quiet nod and followed Edric without needing a single word exchanged. "Now right, 3 tickets left. Let's get the ranker out of the way first." Klaas reached out and touched the floating purple ticket, and instantly, something large began to take shape before him. At first, it hovered in a transparent cuboid form, but then it started to expand, growing bigger and more solid, until it fully materialized into a defined object. "Wait a second," Atlas narrowed his eyes, unsure what he was looking at. "You have received ranker item, auto-replenishing refrigerator." "Wait. What?" "Auto-replenishing refrigerator. A refrigerator that refills its contents every 24 hours with fresh food." A refrigerator that restocks itself. Seriously, this was beyond amazing. With something like this, a person could live in total isolation and still thrive. No hunting, no foraging, just open the door and eat. The value of this item was insane, and judging by its size, it wasn't small either. It looked big enough to feed 5 to 10 people easily over the span of a day, maybe even more, depending on the contents. A moment later, Carian hauled the refrigerator into the tent, which had somehow transformed from a simple shelter into a spacious dome-shaped interior. How had all of that come out of such a small bag earlier? Atlas opened the fridge. A wave of cool air rushed out and washed over his face, offering sweet relief from the heat and the dry whipping wind. His previously drained expression brightened with sudden energy as he took in the sight before him. Vegetables, meat, milk, fruit, all of it looked incredibly fresh. There were even frozen meals neatly arranged in one of the drawers. He grabbed a few bottles of water and casually tossed them toward Edric and Carrion. "Drink up. Looks like we won't have to roast Carrion's limb anymore. We've got food for days." A little while later, they'd built a simple stove from gathered stones and kindling. Over the fire, they placed slabs of frozen meat and packed meals, watching eagerly as the heat brought them to life. The scent of sizzling food quickly filled the air. Seated comfortably in their camping chairs, they finally let themselves relax. "This is the best emergency supply we could have hoped for, my lord," Edric said. "Yeah, no kidding," Atlas laughed, cracking open a chilled bottle of cola. "This is amazing," he added, taking a long swig before digging into a thick cut of meat. "And I'm starving." The three of them sat around the fire, indulging in their unexpectedly lavish feast. The food was so plentiful it almost felt unreal. Atlas ate with an easy, while Carrion tore through his portion, swallowing 200 grams of meat in one bite. Time slipped by, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, the floating island was gently cloaked in twilight. Only the soft glow from the tent and the steady flicker of firelight lit up their little corner of the sky. Cassilas moved on to the next ranker ticket. He needed to wrap this up quickly. "You have received ranker item Floating Lantern. Provides light to dark areas and guides adventurers through treacherous terrain." The lantern activated instantly, lifting itself gently into the air as it cast a soft golden light over the camp. The glow was warm and comforting, and it immediately transformed the surrounding space. It was obvious now, this item was far more practical than it seemed at first glance. The lantern followed the person who activated it, almost like a loyal pet. It even came with adjustable settings, patrol mode, auto-follow, and more, an unexpectedly versatile tool. The stars began to pepper the darkening sky. The entire scene softened into a peaceful, almost surreal calm. That's when Atlas turned and noticed her. Morgana. She stood perfectly still, her posture stiff, her eyes glowing with a faint red hue as they locked onto the group. There was something intense in her gaze, something that made Atlas pause. He hadn't realized she'd been watching them this whole time. Was she hungry? "Now tell me, what do vampires eat?" Atlas asked. Edric looked ready to launch into an answer, but Carrion beat him to it. "They eat humans, my lord, drain their blood dry until there's nothing left but a corpse. A gruesome, bloodless husk." "Oh, that's horrifying," Atlas muttered, glancing back at Morgana. "That?" Edric interrupted, glaring at Carrion. "What kind of nightmare world are you living in? Yours, isn't it?" Rick exhaled sharply, composing himself. "Vampires can eat normal food, like meat, and drink cola, but their true hunger is for blood. That's what replenishes their strength and satisfies their core need." 20-aught, Atlas listened closely. "So, hypothetically, if we just cut ourselves a little and let her drink that, would it work?" "It would, my lord," Edric nodded. "And, do they need a lot of blood?" "No, not at all," Edric said. "It's similar to donating blood. A small amount can sustain them for quite a while." Atlas gave a slow nod. He picked up a piece of grilled meat and a bottle, then stood and began walking toward Morgana. Back at the fire, Carrion leaned toward Edric and whispered, "Edric, you're not joking, are you? The Lord's never dealt with vampires before." "Of course not," Edric replied with quiet certainty. "Your vampire's a wild one, but she's a vampire queen. Noble lineage. They can handle regular food, but when it comes to blood, they're selective." "Selective? Like how?" "They've got preferences. Same as we favor some foods over others." "And what if she doesn't like the Lord's blood?" Wonderdrick gave a knowing smile. "He's an active Lord, sharp, running a system that's incredibly powerful. He'll make an excellent leader. Or are you volunteering your blood instead?" Carrion frowned, glancing toward Morgana. "Wouldn't that be better than letting the Lord risk himself?" Endrick let out a long sigh. "That's idiotic. If she doesn't like your blood, she might tear you apart on the spot. Remember, she can't harm the Lord. But the rest of us, she could kill without hesitation." Their eyes turned to Atlas, who now stood before Morgana, speaking to her, but before they could make out the words, everything changed. In an instant, Morgana lunged, her figure blurred, a flash of black and red. "My lord!" Carrion shouted, springing to his feet in panic, but it was too late. Morgana had already sank her fangs into Atlas's neck. Morgana burned with rage, her anger boiled inside her. But she couldn't move, something invisible was holding her back. Locking her in place, she tried to break free. But it was useless. She glared at the one who had summoned her. A weak, low-level human. How could someone like him to summon her? Then because his level was so low. Her power had been dragged down too. Her eyes narrowed. What was that smell? It wasn't just the meat. They were cooking something over the fire, but that wasn't what drew her in. No. It was blood, fresh, warm blood, exactly what she needed. Her energy was fading fast after a full day under the harsh sun. The summoning penalty had left her weak and starving. And it was his fault. She looked again. The human was walking toward her. Hey, I brought some food. You must be hungry, right? Morgana clenched her teeth. How dare he speak to me like that? Listen, MS, Morgana, Atlas said calmly. Stepping a little closer, I understand you were someone important, maybe even feared wherever you came from, but fate brought us here. Together we might as well get along and work as a team. What do you think? Stop this nonsense. I won't serve anyone. Her thoughts raged. But her body stayed frozen. The restraints kept her silent, her lips twitching with the words. She couldn't speak. All she could do was glare back in her world. She'd never gone hungry. Her loyal followers made sure she always had a steady supply of high-quality blood. But here she had nothing, and she hated it. Hated the weakness, the hunger, the humiliation. Then Atlas did something she didn't expect. He stepped even closer. Without hesitation, he rolled up his sleeve and held out his hand. He drew a knife and made a small cut across his skin. Blood welled up thick and red, trickling slowly down his arm. I know you need blood, he said, so take it. Just don't take too much. I still need some left to live. Morgana felt her mind scream, what are you doing? Stop it, you can't. But he didn't stop. Keeping his eyes on hers, he reached out, offering his bleeding hand. Here, he said. It should help. Her eyes widened, anger, confusion, shock. It all swirled together inside her. What was he thinking? Did this human, this fool, actually believe he could tame her? Stop it. You can't make me drink your blood. In the world of vampires, such a gesture was not taken lightly. To offer one's blood so freely, openly, without fear, was an act steeped in meaning. It spoke of trust, intimacy, devotion among vampires. It was something sacred, shared only between lovers or between a master and their most loyal servant. To do so without hesitation was like forging a bond, personal and binding, a silent vow that could never be taken back. And here was Atlas doing exactly that. How dare this human try to bind her in such a way? Did he think he could tame her with such an offering? That he could claim her? His hand pressed gently against her lips, the warmth of his skin burning against her cold mouth. She wanted to recoil, to slap it away, but then a drop of blood touched her lips. It slid slowly, innocently into her mouth. She tried to resist. She tried, but it was too late. The blood slipped past her lips and down her throat, and then Morgana went still. What is this? This blood? The taste was unlike anything she had ever known. Sweet, potent, brimming with life and energy, like a drug rushing through her veins. It soothed the storm inside her, the hunger, the anger, the exhaustion, all of it faded, drowned in that single, intoxicating flavor. Her body shuddered, her skin prickled. Her mind fogged over as waves of warmth coursed through her, leaving her trembling in a way she hadn't felt in centuries. In an instant, all the rage, all the hatred that had burned within her, dissolved, swept away by a rising tide of warmth that filled her from the inside out. I want more. I want it from the neck, but that thought made her recoil. To drink from the neck was different if she did that. It would mean something. It would be a silent admission that she had given in, that she had submitted to him, that she had accepted his offer, and, Dino so allowed herself to be bound. No, she screamed inside her own mind. I won't, and yet the blood was unlike anything she had ever tasted. Her eyes lit up, burning bright red as energy surged through her body. Sir. Then with a sharp crack, the restraints binding her shattered into nothing. She was free, and she didn't hesitate. I want more, she cried. In a blur of motion, she lunged forward, her left arm wrapped tightly around Atlas's back. Holding him in place, her right hand gripped the back of his head, fingers digging into his hair as she pulled him close, and then, without pause, she sank her fangs deep into the side of his neck. My lord, Carrion shouted from a distance, but before he could get too close, Atlas lifted one hand, just slightly. It's okay, seriously. If Morgana had meant to do any real harm, the system should have intervened. But it hadn't. In fact, the system was allowing this to happen. And then there was the sensation. It was strange, not painful, not frightening, weird. Yes, but not in a bad way. How was he supposed to describe it? Comforting, enjoyable. I can't let this get weird. But what the hell is this feeling? He stood still, not frozen by fear, but caught in the middle of something he didn't understand. As her fangs pierced his neck and drew blood, he felt his body respond. Every part of him seemed to wake up at once. His skin tingled. His senses sharpened. Whatever exhaustion he'd been carrying vanished like it had never been there. He felt energized, like he'd just been plugged into pure life itself, and somehow it didn't hurt, not even a little. In fact, it felt weirdly good. Is this what it actually feels like to be bitten by a vampire? After a while, Morgana slowly loosened her grip and stepped back. She wiped the remaining blood from her lips with a slow, graceful motion. Atlas instinctively touched the side of his neck. His fingers found the 2 small puncture marks. Already starting to heal next time, he muttered. Maybe give me a little warning so I'm not caught off guard. Morgana didn't answer. She only dipped her head slightly. I was hungry. He sighed. Then come sit with us. There's plenty of food by the fire again. No reply. But she followed as he turned and headed back toward the camp where Edric and Carian waited. Gentric gave a small bow and gestured to an empty spot beside the fire. Please, Ms. Morgana, I'll gladly prepare the finest meal we have for you. Carian didn't speak. He no longer sat, but stood at a slight distance. His eyes locked on Morgana. Morgana took a seat. She began to eat, and though her expression barely changed, there was something in the way she chewed. Slow and deliberate, that hinted at satisfaction. Atlas watched her quietly. He'd need a better way to speak with her, that much was certain. She was powerful, more than powerful. And if he wanted to protect his island, if he hoped to survive the battles ahead, he would need her strength and her trust. Then a sudden thought struck him in all the excitement of eating and restoring his energy. He had completely forgotten there was still 1 rank's ticket left unopened. Realizing this, Atlas quickly turned toward the floating red glowing card, stepped toward the red card. Edric and Carian followed at a respectful distance. Morgana, however, didn't so much as glance his way. She continued eating, as if nothing around her held the slightest importance. We believe you're meant for something far greater. My lord, Edric said softly, especially considering how easily you've pulled these red cards. Could it be another high-ranking lord? Carian added. Atlas gave a sigh and picked up the card. If this is the scythe, it'll make Morgana even stronger. The moment his fingers touched it, the card ignited. Black and blood-red flames consumed it in an instant. From the ashes, streaks of dark crimson energy burst into the air, twisting and folding around themselves until a long, wicked shape began to form. Wait, is that a curved blade, sharp and elegant, materialized before them? You have received a rank's weapon, legendary-grade blood-kissed scythe. No way. He had just pulled the featured weapon, Morgana's signature weapon. On only his 20th pull, a wide grin broke across his face. But the moment was short-lived before any of them could react. Morgana was suddenly right there, with a gleam in her gaze and a hunger that wasn't about food. She reached toward it. No one touches this but me. No one touches this but me. Morgana appeared between Atlas and the others in a blink, her hand shooting out toward the scythe. But Atlas was faster this time. He snatched the weapon from the air just before she could reach it, and instinctively jumped back. One thing was clear. Morgana wasn't moving with the same deadly speed she had before. This time her pursuit was normal. Yet even at that pace it was no easy task to avoid being caught by this vampire queen. Atlas swung the scythe to the side just as she reached for it, then sprinted to the opposite edge of the campsite to avoid her. Give it to me. Don't even lay a finger on it. Her voice was sharp and commanding as always. Carian, watching the chase unfold, reached for his greatsword. But before he could move, Edric grabbed his arm. We need to help the Lord, Carian urged. Edric shook his head calmly. No need. She's not the enemy. But she's attacking the Lord. Didn't you see how she froze earlier, when she tried to harm him? So, what? If she's moving this freely now, it means she's not trying to hurt him. But he's still struggling. Edric leaned in, voice low. They're just deepening their bond. What? You heard me. Carian frowned. Where are you even getting that from? Edric sighed and rubbed his temples. I swear I need a smarter partner. Listen, when a vampire queen drinks from someone's neck, especially someone powerful, it's not just feeding. It's a ritual. A pact. It means she surrendered her soul to him. And, in simpler terms, they're married. Married how? Not in a traditional way, of course. But it's a bond. Let's call it marriage for convenience. Carian shook his head. I don't understand this marriage thing you keep bringing up. Where I come from, every race only knows how to fight and survive. Exactly. Why you need to start talking to people from other worlds, Edric muttered. Look, I've explained enough. Now just sit back and enjoy the show as our Lord handles his new wife. You're making this up. That can't be real. Edric shrugged. Believe what you want. On one side of the camp, Atlas was still doing his best to dodge Morgana's pursuit. He weaved, left then right, avoiding her attempts to snatch the scythe with the grace of someone running from a very elegant death. Give it to me, she barked. In a quick motion, Atlas stored the scythe into his inventory, causing it to vanish in a flash just as Morgana lunged. Her hand swiped at empty air. In that instant, Atlas reached out and caught her left wrist firmly. Before she could pull away, he grabbed her other wrist too, holding both her hands in a solid grip. Strong enough to hold her, yet not nearly strong enough to stop her if she truly wanted to break free. But she didn't. Give me the scythe, she growled. I will, Atlas replied evenly, but only if you sit down and talk to me about our alliance. There is no talk. You're weak, she spat. I summoned you, he said, and I summoned your weapon. This is just the beginning. I can do far more. You'll die the moment the first real battle happens. No, I won't. Oh, and where does that confidence come from? Have you lost your mind? I won't die, Atlas said softly, because I have you, Edric and Carrion. Silence fell between them. The air tensed as they stared into each other's eyes. Morgana's frustration still burned on her face, clear as day. She didn't like his words. She didn't like what he was asking of her. Can we talk? He asked again, more gently this time. Morgana clenched her jaw and yanked her hands free with a sharp pull. She stepped back, scowling, then lifted one hand toward him in a demanding gesture. Give me the scythe. That's mine. Atlas gave a small nod, reaching into his inventory and pulling out the blood-kissed scythe. The dark, elegant weapon materialized in his hand. Without hesitation, he extended it toward Morgana. She didn't wait. In one swift movement, she closed the distance and snatched the scythe from his grip. He offered no resistance. Her expression shifted the moment her fingers wrapped around the familiar weapon. She leapt back, spinning the scythe with graceful ease, the blade slicing through the air like a deadly propeller. Then she dashed forward, a blur of motion. Before Atlas could even react, she was in a full attack stance, low to the ground, left leg behind, right arm extended. Don't expect me to listen to your words, she snapped. Then just as suddenly the scythe vanished, gone in an instant, as if it had never been there. Morgana turned her back to him. I can upgrade your scythe, Atlas called after her, and upgrade you too. All you have to do is listen. Work with me, and we'll win every battle. She paused. For the briefest moment her steps halted. But then, without a word, she kept walking, disappearing into the shadows at the far edge of the island. Atlas stood there watching her fade into the darkness. At the very least, the vampire queen no longer seemed as terrifying as before, right? This time she had actually held back when reaching for the scythe. She could have just taken it by force, but she didn't. It almost felt like pride. But a different kind of pride, one that now acknowledged Atlas at least a little. He wasn't imagining it. That subtle shift, that hesitation, it meant something. And it had happened so quickly, hadn't it? Maybe Morgana wasn't as cold and ruthless as she first appeared. After all, it wasn't unusual for someone in her position to resist at first. Who wouldn't after being summoned into a strange new world, stripped of power and forced to serve a weaker being? Still, Atlas was starting to believe things would improve. They had to. Just then, Edric and Carrion approached. Their expressions were strange. Atlas couldn't quite read them, but something definitely felt off. My Lord, Carrion spoke first. I've been through something like this before. The early stages are always tough, especially at the start of a Maria. A sharp nudge from Edric silenced him, mid-word. My lord, it's already quite late, Edric said quickly. What do you say we get some rest? Carrion and I will keep watch until the fortress is complete. Atlas exhaled a long breath. He hadn't realized he was holding. Today had drained him more than he wanted to admit. The fall from the sky, waking up on this unfamiliar island, the endless gacha pulls, and now that tense standoff with Morgana. It was all just too much. Yeah, he murmured, rubbing the back of his neck. I think that's a good idea. Only now did he feel how deep the fatigue had settled into his bones. He hadn't slept in 3 days, not since the last hunting expedition. His body was screaming for rest, every muscle heavy, his mind sluggish, teetering on the edge of collapse. Please wake me if anything serious happens. Of course, my lord, Edric said, giving a respectful nod. We'll make sure the area is secure while you sleep. Atlas nodded back, then turned and made his way into the tent. The moment he sat down on the mattress, he paused. There was something strange. He pressed his fingers gently to the side of his neck, the place where Morgana had bitten him. The skin was smooth now, completely healed, but something was still there, a faint heat. Every time he touched it, his heart seemed to beat just a little faster. What the hell is wrong with me? I've completely lost it. But there was no time to dwell. As soon as his head hit the pillow, sleep swept over him like a crashing wave, dragging him down into the dark. Something stirred Atlas from the depths of sleep, a soft breath brushing against his cheek. What is this? The thought drifted through his half-conscious mind. Fresh air filled his lungs, but it carried a delicate sweet scent he didn't recognize. His head throbbed gently, and though he could sense a lot had happened the night before, the memories were blurred. Like pieces of a dream that refused to come together. Did something happen? Was it just a dream? No way, right. The feeling was too real. There was something specific, something he knew had occurred, but the details slipped through his mind. All of it seemed to lead back to one person. Morgana. His body felt unusually heavy, as if something was pressing against him. Slowly his senses came back, and he became more aware of where he was. The morning light filtered softly through the edges of the tent, and then he noticed it. Something was wrapped around him. Carefully he turned his head to the right, and froze. Lying beside him, her long black hair spilling across the blanket, was a woman. Morgana, what the hell happened last night?